those on the side of opposition would band together and would take a stand on behalf of the Canadian people, insisting on good legislation as we move forward. It would be my hope then that we do not continue the trend of a declining democracy and that we vote against this legislation as it stands today. Thank you.
The honourable member for Lethbridge will have 11 minutes remaining in her time when the House next gets back to debate on the motion. But for now, we're going to go with statements by members. Déclaration de député. Premièrement, the first up will be the honourable member for Mississauga Lakeshore.
Mr. Speaker, on May 8th, Sir David Attenborough celebrates 95 years on the blue planet, and I take the floor to wish him a very happy birthday. David Attenborough has been a household name for decades for so many of us, and he continues to deliver nature's stories into living rooms, schools, and hearts and minds around the world. His call for greater urgency in the fight against climate change and in the effort to restore biodiversity is one of the most relevant and important appeals today. Sir David's work is so impactful that the collective response to the devastation caused by plastic pollution is known as the Attenborough effect. He believes that we are one single human civilization and that the greatest threats we face should unite rather than divide us. Mr. Speaker, I ask all members of Canada's House of Commons to join me in wishing Sir David Attenborough a very happy birthday and in saying thank you for a lifetime of dedication to the planet.
The honourable member for Saskatoon West.
Mr. Speaker, Saskatoon recently lost a stalwart of the Conservative movement. As a longtime EDA board member and staff member, Al Chant was a dedicated and caring person who loved helping others. Whether you were a constituent, a party member, or even an MP, Al was not afraid to speak up and always said what was on his mind. I'm sure even Prime Minister Harper got an earful or two from Al. Honesty and truth in our beliefs is a characteristic that separates Conservatives from Liberals. And let me tell you, Al Chant was as separate from a Liberal as you could find. Al was a loyal staff member to former MPs Brad Trost and Maurice Vellicott. Al loved helping people through the MP office. He also served for many years on the Saskatoon Rosetown Bigger EDA board and my Saskatoon West EDA board. After he retired, Al became an avid fisherman, casting his line in the water and chatting with everyone who walked by. To Al's wife, Elizabeth, I offer my heartfelt condolences and sincere thanks for sharing Al with us for all these years. Al, peace be upon you and God bless.
The honourable member for Spadina, Fort York.
Mr. Speaker, Deanne Taylor, the loving partner and an art to Michael Hollingsworth, also known as one of the Hummer sisters, passed away. Playwright, actress, singer, designer, multimedia wizard, journalist, director, Deanne Taylor is one of the most important artists ever to grace our beautiful city. Celebrated as the co-creator of The Village of the Small Huts, last mounted at the Stratford Festival, and perhaps her most important work, Taylor and Hollingworth created a gloriously, wickedly funny, smart series of plays that lampooned, revealed, and explored Canada's history. She also ran for mayor as part of a trio of feminists, the Hummer sisters. They finished second to Art Eggleton in a campaign played out as art versus art. Deanne lived her life in a studio atop Cameron House in Queen West in Toronto. She dispensed sage political advice and wrote speeches for many a candidate, including an MP that might be speaking right now. Mr. Speaker, the Queen of Queen Street's reign has ended. Long live the Queen. Bless you, Deanne. Bless you.
The honourable member for North Island, Powell River.
Mr. Speaker, a couple of weeks ago, our wing commander, Colonel Poltra, moved on with his family to his next post. I attended the virtual event, but wanted to thank him for his service and wish him and his family all the best. I also wanted to welcome the new wing commander, Colonel Elliott. I look forward to meeting and working with you. I know that you and your family will thrive in our region. I also want to acknowledge a previous wing commander and a cornerstone in our riding, Mr. James Edwards, also known as Stocky. When Stocky finished high school, he passed on an opportunity with the Chicago Blackhawks to enlist with the Royal Canadian Air Force. And Mr. Speaker, all Canadians are glad he made that choice. He received his wings in 1941 and went on to make his family very proud with his service. On D-Day, a day after turning 23, he flew a Spitfire over the beaches of Normandy. Stocky's career in the military showcases the deep respect and love he has for his country. With his 100th birthday in June, I just wanted to thank him for his service to his country and to his community. To both Stocky and his wife, Tony, thank you.
The Honourable Member for Outremont. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's important for me to speak today about Mental Health Week, which is ending on Sunday. We know that the pandemic has had a significant impact on the mental health of Canadians, and the youngest among us are the hardest hit. It is more important than ever to share this message with all my constituents in Outremont and all those who need to hear it. You are not alone. Ask for help if you need it. Speak to those around you and take care of yourselves.
It's okay not to be okay. I've had my own ups and downs over the last year. We all have. But yesterday, I received my first dose of the vaccine, and the light at the end of this long COVID tunnel shone brighter because I know that with each jab, with each vaccine administered in an arm, we are one step closer to this being over. We will get through this, Canada, and we'll do so together.
The Honourable Member for Regina Leuven.
Mr. Speaker, on May 23, 2007, the RCMP Heritage Centre officially opened its doors in Regina. It brought to life the story, beginning in 1885, of the training of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Over the past 14 years, it has grown to be one of the premier tourist venues. However, my Conservative colleagues, board members, their chair Steve McClellan, Calton's volunteers, and local MLAs could see the potential for growth. Through everyone's tireless advocacy and letters of endorsement, the centre will now be turned into the Canadian RCMP National Museum. With 9 national museums across Canada and only one in Western Canada, this is a huge national significance for our city and province. Located in the heart of my riding of Regina Leuven, the new museum will serve as another national pride piece, and the timing of this designation is perfect, with the RCMP celebrating 150 years in 2023. Let the salute begin to all those who wear the red serge, and let us commemorate and honor the work they do each and every day to the service of our country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Newmarket, Aurora.
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to announce that summer is right around the corner. And I know that because last weekend, both the Newmarket and the Aurora Farmers Markets opened for the season. Every weekend from May to October, we can expect over 40 vendors to welcome us, from farmers and artisans to community groups. And every year, these markets provide our community with an opportunity to support local, to eat fresh, and catch up with our friends and neighbors. And while we continue to fight this virus, I am proud of how both markets have adapted and implemented both local public health guidelines to keep us all safe. I look forward to visiting both markets over the next few months and catching up with constituents, masked and physically distanced, rain or shine. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Humber River, Black Creek.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As the chair of the Canada-Taiwan Parliamentary Friendship Group, it gives me great pleasure to rise in the House today and recognize the President of Taiwan. President Tai is this year's winner of the John McCain Prize for Leadership in Public Service by the Halifax International Security Forum. Taiwan has been a world leader in the fight against COVID-19. As the coronavirus has upended lives and economies around the world, Taiwan has been a model that other countries, including Canada, continue to learn from. Through her leadership and hard work, Taiwan has had continued success in containing the ongoing pandemic, proving that a united population can be a force for good around the world. I'd like to congratulate President Tai once again for this well-deserved recognition upon receiving this prestigious award. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Midnapore.
Mr. Speaker, this is my last statement of this session and possibly before we go to the polls. I'm grateful for the 4 years that the good people of Calgary-Mindapore have allowed me to be their voice. So I can't let this opportunity pass without expressing the following. Mr. Prime Minister, you have failed the people of Calgary-Mindapore. You have taken away their right to make a living. You implemented Bills C-48 and C-69. You delayed Trans Mountain. You did not stand up for Keystone XL and Line 5. You canceled Energy East and the Northern Gateway. You've called my small business owners tax cheats, attacked their retirements and their secession plans. And this was all before 2020. You failed to protect them. You squashed their ingenuity of therapeutics, rapid tests, and pilot projects. And it is you who has delayed their freedom and your horrific procurement of vaccinations, delaying their lives and dreams. You may want to forget what you have done to the people of Calgary-Mindapore, but I won't let you.
The honourable member for Don Valley West.
Mr. Speaker, I have the honour today to pay tribute to Mr. Alain Baudot, who died this week. He was a professor emeritus at the Glendon College French Studies Department, a faculty of York University located in Don Valley West. Over the years, Alain Baudot founded and directed departments, programs, and publishers at Glendon. He also tirelessly promoted French language in Ontario. He loved French, but above all, he loved sharing that love for that language and culture with his students. He was a member of the Order of the Royal Society of Canada, resident of Leaside. He founded the annual Day of the Francophonie in Toronto. Alain Baudot leaves lasting heritage in the hearts of those who knew him. My sincere condolences to his colleagues at Glendon, but above all to his wife Carla and their daughters Laure and Erica. May he rest in peace. Thank you.
The honourable member for Cariboo Prince George.
Nearly 1 in 2 Canadians are expected to be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. That means half of our family, friends, and colleagues will hear the words, "You have cancer," at some point in their lives. We all know someone whose life has been changed with this disease. Our family has been negatively impacted by cancer. We've lost far too many friends and family members to this terrible disease. The Canadian Cancer Society's Relay for Life takes place June 12th. I will once again be walking the full 24 hours. At the Relay for Life, we show those we love that life is bigger than their diagnosis, and no matter where they live.
I'm sorry to interrupt the honourable member for Cariboo Prince George. It would appear that we're not. Is it the issue that we're not getting interpretation, or the sound is fine? Seemed to be fine for me. Does the honourable member for Cariboo Prince George have a headset that he can use for his?
Mr. Speaker, if you will go to the next person, I'll connect and then come back.
Okay, we'll see if we can do that. Let's go to the honourable member.
The honourable member for Chicoutimi-Le-Fjord. Mr. Speaker, 15 years ago, Quebec passed a historic state, and it was celebrated this week by Quebec's National Assembly by voting to recognize the 15th anniversary of Quebec's getting a seat at UNESCO, a UN organization for education, science, and culture. This event, led by Stephen Harper in 2006, was and continues to be a great victory for Quebec. It's no surprise the Conservatives have always had this openness for Quebec. It is a recognition of our history, our culture, and our people. We are a proud nation in a united Canada, and this achievement recognizes our importance and our contributions, not just to Canada, but internationally. I'm proud of being a Quebecer, and I feel this pride in my riding of Chicoutimi-Le-Fjord, as well as throughout the beautiful province. The recognition given to Quebecers 15 years ago is a historic event and another reminder of what happens that makes our province and our country so great.
Back to the honourable member for Cariboo Prince George, and I'll ask him to just pick it up from where he left off, if he can, and we'll finish his statement. The honourable member.
At the Relay for Life, we show those we love that life is bigger than their diagnosis, and that no matter where they live, they don't have to face cancer alone. Mr. Speaker, I relay for those we have lost. I relay for those who have fought cancer and won. I relay for those who are in the fight today. I relay for those left behind. And Mr. Speaker, I relay because I believe there will be a day where a cancer diagnosis isn't a death sentence.
Member for New Westminster, Burnaby.
During this pandemic, as the third wave crashes on our shores, our hearts go out to the more than 24,000 Canadians and their families who've passed away. But our hearts also go out to people making a difference in our communities. And in New Westminster and Burnaby, we thank the nurses, doctors, and healthcare workers at Royal Columbian Hospital and Burnaby Hospital. We thank the first responders, New Westminster firefighters and Burnaby firefighters, who also organize events to help people struggling in our community, the Burnaby RCMP and New Westminster Police and the BC Ambulance Service. We thank people in community organizations like the New Westminster Food Bank, the Burnaby Food Bank, Helping Hands in New Westminster, and Caring During COVID in Burnaby. And we thank frontline workers, those that are providing the groceries, pharmaceutical products, essential services, small business people during this pandemic. We thank them all, and to thank them all, let us recommit to building back better and building a society where nobody is left behind.
The Honourable Member for Rivière-du-Nord. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today at exactly 4 p.m., the team at Electric Line Company will ring the famous closing bell on Wall Street to highlight it's going public. This company is a jewel in our economy. We haven't finished hearing this lion roar. Saint-Jérôme was witness to the birth and growth of this wonderful company that builds zero-emissions heavy vehicles. We are proud of the success and the hundreds of good jobs for people in Laurentides and throughout Quebec, and proud of its excellent reputation that has spread well beyond our borders. Quebec is a strong leader in the electrification of transportation and the fight against climate change. The Bloc Québécois is and will remain a proud and reliable ally for all those who want to help build a better, greener future as we turn resolutely to clean energy. Congratulations and thank you to the entire team at Lion Electric, its president, Marc Bédard, his employees, suppliers, and accomplices. Your resounding success is felt by everybody in Rivière-du-Nord. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Battle River, Crowfoot.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last night, this House had an emergency debate on the pending shutdown of Enbridge's Line 5 pipeline. From the tens of thousands of jobs immediately affected, the energy insecurity that could lead to dangerous fuel shortages, to stress on the already limited market availability for Western crude, this is an emergency. The Liberals say a lot of the right things, but their actions show a different story. And I've observed a typical tactic that they employ when they've failed. They claim to need a Team Canada approach, and to avoid questions, they simply accuse the opposition of playing politics. We see through that charade. In this case, the evidence shows that they didn't take it seriously, and they set a precedent with how they handled KXL. The result is that Canadians could be left in the dark. This isn't about conservatives versus liberals or left versus right. This is about standing up for Canadians, and this government, after 6 years, has shown they are not capable of that. Canadians deserve better.
Honourable Member for Brampton South.
Mr. Speaker, as Mother's Day is this Sunday, I want to highlight the contribution that mothers make every day. Although they often go without credit, mothers are the real heroes. Mr. Speaker, a mother can take the place of all others, but nobody can take a mother's place. I want to thank my own mother who taught me the value of helping those in need. She's fighting a battle against cancer. Her strength inspires me. I know how much you are going through, Mom. I'm here because of your values, resilience, and strength, which only a mother could teach. My message to all mothers is to take care of yourself. We are often too busy taking care of our children, parents, and families, but often forgot about our own health, including mental health. You deserve to take care of yourself. Happy Mother's Day to all of you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Before we go to oral questions, I just wanted to make a brief comment. One of today's statements by members made ample use of the you and your references. Members will be reminded that this style of speech is not accepted in the House, and remind honourable members, as the Speaker has done routinely, that they direct their comments and their speech to the Chair. There's a reason for that, and we ask members to oblige and follow that practice. Oral questions. Questions orales. The Honourable Deputy Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, with Bill C-10, the fact is the Prime Minister is taking away Canadians' freedoms, but instead of admitting how bad the bill is and scrapping it, he'd rather insult people and accuse those who oppose it of wearing tinfoil hats. The Liberals' amendments to C-10 doesn't even come close to their promise to protect free speech, and that's according to Canada's leading internet law expert. Why is the Prime Minister so fixated on trying to control online speech?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday at committee, it was made clear that we want to focus on two things. For social media platforms to fairly financially contribute to our cultural industry, just like Canadian companies do, and make our Canadian artists discoverable, like suggested playlist on YouTube. We continue to stand with our artists and creators, and it pains me to see the Conservatives work for the interest of foreign tech companies. I call on the Conservative Party of Canada to let the Canadian Heritage Committee pursue its work later today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Deputy Leader of the Opposition.
Well, let me let that minister know that 2 past commissioners of the CRTC have warned of significant problems with C-10. They say it's a threat to free speech. They say it's going to actually suppress investment and the creative sector. It's going to stifle innovation by cultural entrepreneurs. Free expression on the internet is essential to Canadian free speech rights. Why do the Liberals want to control what Canadians say and hear online?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've been saying this from the beginning and confirmed it last night. Bill C-10 is about fairness, not about what we can or can't post online. Bill C-10 doesn't remove anything from Canadians. What it does is actually give them more opportunities to meet with their artists and creators. How are we going to do this? By making big streaming companies pay their fair share to our cultural institutions and ensure Canadian artists are discoverable on their platform. Mr. Speaker, I invite the Conservative Party to join me in this important task and get Bill C-10 adopted. Our creators can't afford to wait any longer.
The Honourable Deputy Leader of the Opposition.
Well, it's interesting to hear the Liberals talk about how awful web giants are in their defense of C-10. But guess who's promoting a big interview with web giant YouTube? That's right, the Prime Minister. So apparently, YouTube is okay as long as it's giving the Prime Minister the platform that he wants. You can't help Canadians from being awfully cynical when it comes to this government. Why does the Prime Minister think that speech should only be free if it agrees with and helps him?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If the Conservative Party members truly cared about freedom of speech, then they would let our democracy continue its work freely. Again, Mr. Speaker, this bill is not about what you or I can or can't post online. Freedom of speech is not negotiable for our government. It's explicitly protected under this act and in our Charters of Rights and Freedom. And if the member opposite had actually read the bill, she would see this at Article 2.3. We will continue to abide by these rules, and we should let the committee pursue its work. And if it means that a charter review, then it will be done at the end of the process, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Louis Saint-Laurent. Mr. Speaker, the Premier of Quebec is impatient, and with good reason. Ottawa is delaying on immigration files. According to QMI, over 51,000 files are currently waiting to be processed in Ottawa. And what that means is that it's more than 51,000 people throughout the world who are dreaming of settling in Quebec, but Ottawa is dragging its feet. And the result is that even though there are more than 100,000 positions available in Quebec, these people have to wait. Why is Ottawa dragging its feet like this? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, immigration is essential to the economic recovery in Quebec and elsewhere in Canada. This year, 7,000 new skilled workers were welcomed in Quebec, which was an increase compared to last year. We are on the right path to reach the target set by Quebec, including the catch-up for 2020. We will continue to cooperate with the government of Quebec in order to support their economic recovery. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint-Laurent. Well, Mr. Speaker, you can do anything you want with statistics, but I'm going to quote the immigration lawyer Guillaume Clich-Rivard. He said to Radio-Canada that in 2020, the federal government was not able to respect Quebec's targets. That's what an independent observer has said. The business sector wants Ottawa to move forward on these files. We don't want an argument between Ottawa and Quebec City. And we don't want an argument over the numbers. What we want is results. What is this government going to do to move forward the 51,000 immigration cases of people who are ready to settle in Quebec? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As my colleague knows, last year we were in a global pandemic. But since then, we've added additional resources. We've also gone from paper to digital. We've been able to admit more than 7,000 skilled workers, which is a 56% improvement over the same period last year. We will continue to work with our Quebec partners in order to support the economic recovery in Quebec and Canada. The Honourable Member for Shefford. Mr. Speaker, seniors are angry about the federal government's decision to create a two-tier system by only increasing pensions for people 75 and older. The president of the FADOC, Gisèle Tassé-Goodman, published an open letter this morning. According to her, there are many people at 65 who have just as much trouble when it comes to putting bread on the table as those who are 75, despite what the Prime Minister says. And she believes that the harms caused by the system will be considerable. Will this government finally fix things and increase the benefits for all seniors? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Budget 2021 announced great news and will make a real difference for seniors. We are keeping our promise to increase old age security, and we will be giving seniors a one-time payment of $500 in September 2021. We will also increase benefits in summer 2022 as promised in the budget. We are also funding an initiative to help people age in place. We will fund community programs which will help people stay at home. We'll also be earmarking money to help the provinces and territories. The Honourable Member, Mr. Speaker, the Liberals don't seem to understand anything. They are creating two classes of seniors, and that's not acceptable in Quebec. We need to support seniors as of 65. This morning, the leader of the FADOC wrote an open letter to defend seniors in Quebec. All of them, whatever their age. And Liberals, meanwhile, in Quebec, are also picking up their pen, but in order to defend the government. I was shocked to see the members for Beaumont-Missisquoi and Compton-Stanstead publish editorials to defend the creation of this two-tier system. Why are these members not defending the seniors in the Eastern Townships in Quebec? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
La ministre.
The Honourable Minister.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Les aînés ont...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Seniors have different needs. Seniors are more likely to have exhausted their savings, to be living with a disability. And meanwhile, their health costs are increasing. For seniors 75 and over, half of them have a disability, and half of that is a severe disability. Many of these seniors are widows, and many of them have an income under $30,000. This plan will help these seniors face these pressures. It will increase old age security for Canadians 75 and over by 10% in July 2022. The Honourable Member for Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie. Mr. Speaker, yesterday, to general surprise, the government supported our motion to insist that Netflix also pay taxes on its sky-high revenue. Well, I'd like to congratulate the Liberals on this moment of clear-sightedness, but will they really do it? Yesterday, with my colleague for New Westminster Burnaby, I sent a letter to the Minister of Finance to ask her to apply the digital tax to all the web giants, including Netflix. I will give her another chance to commit to applying the tax to all online services revenue, including subscriptions, and to make public the secret 2017 Netflix agreement. Will she do that? The Honourable Minister, Parliamentary Secretary, rather. The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to underscore that there is no specific exemption for Netflix or any other digital business. On July 1st, for the first time in the history of Canada, we will be levying GST on digital services providers like Netflix. That is included in the Budget Implementation Act. and it should lead to $1.2 billion in revenue over 5 years.
About Clee Valley.
Mr. Speaker, people still aren't seeing the projects and jobs they were promised through the Canada Infrastructure Bank. Meanwhile, the cost of operating the bank doubled last year. It's now costing Canadians $50 million a year to prop up the Liberals' failed privatization experiment. Over the past 2 years, the CIB spent nearly $8 million on consultants. The bank is failing communities. Why did the minister need to pay consultants $8 million to tell the government what Canadians already know?
Honourable Minister or Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very proud about the progress that the Canada Infrastructure Bank has made. We've brought in new leadership, and they're making a real difference. From projects like the REM in Montreal, which I'm happy to show the member, which is creating good jobs right now, to the Anita Battery Project in Ontario, which was a partnership with the First Nations of Grand River, to the Lake Erie Connector. We're working to get more infrastructure built, which is good for Canadians, it's good for jobs, it's good for tackling climate change, and it's good for building more inclusive communities.
Honourable Member for Carleton.
L'échec sur les vaccins du Premier.
Mr. Speaker, this Prime Minister's vaccine failure is killing Canadians and their jobs. 200,000 Canadians lost their jobs in April. That's 200,000 Canadians with no income to pay their bills. That makes us second in terms of the amount of unemployment in the G7, much higher than the average. When will this Prime Minister present a plan to reopen the economy safely with vaccines to protect Canadians' lives and jobs? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, local public health authorities have had to impose the necessary restrictions to fight the third wave. And these restrictions have had an impact on Canadians' jobs. That's why our budget is extending the wage subsidy, the rent subsidy, and the recovery benefit. All this to ensure that Canadians and businesses can get through this pandemic. I hope that all members in this House, the Honourable Member for Carleton.
Well, she's right. The governments were forced to put in those restrictions because of her and the Prime Minister's failure to provide vaccines. While other economies in the world are reopening safely and vaccinated, our people are now locked down again because of the Prime Minister's third wave. That's why we have an unemployment rate that's 50% higher than the G7 average. Higher than the UK, the US, France, and almost every other country in the G7. The reality is this third wave is the responsibility of this government and its failure to safely reopen. When will we have a safe reopening?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it's puzzling to me why the Conservatives constantly try to talk down Canada and Canadians. The reality is Canadians and Canadian businesses have been astonishingly resilient, notwithstanding COVID. In the fourth quarter, our GDP grew by 10%. In the first quarter, it grew by 6.5%. In both cases, that's stronger growth than in the US. And when it comes to jobs, notwithstanding today's very difficult numbers, 83% of COVID job losses have been recovered in Canada, compared to just 63% in the United States.
Member for Carleton.
That's because Canada had far more lost jobs to recover. We had a far bigger drop in employment because of this government's failure to close the border early on, and now we have higher unemployment than the US, the UK, France, Germany, Japan, in fact, much higher than the G7 average because of this Prime Minister's third wave. He left the borders open, but he kept vaccines out, and now Canadians are losing their lives and their jobs. When will this government present a real plan to safely reopen so Canadians can protect their lives and get their jobs back?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, yet again, let me urge our Conservative colleagues to pick a lane. Half of the time, Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives complain about debt and deficits and accuse our government of investing too much to help Canadians finish the fight against COVID and have a strong and robust recovery. Now, Mr. Speaker, what we believe Canada needs is the support to get through this difficult third wave, which our budget provides, and strong investment to come roaring back. That's what we're going to do, Mr. Speaker.
La députée de Chicoutimi-Le-Fjord.
The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Le-Fjord. Mr. Speaker, this Liberal government's attitude towards the women who serve our country is shameful. We saw that with a member for Vancouver-Granville in the SNC-Lavalin scandal. And now we're seeing it with the cover-up of the sexual misconduct allegations against General Bantz. These aren't isolated incidents. It's a pattern of behavior and culture that our so-called feminist Prime Minister has allowed to spread. What is his excuse for letting Canadian women down again? The Honourable Minister.
Monsieur le Président, les membres des Forces armées canadiennes.
Mr. Speaker, members of the Canadian Armed Forces make enormous sacrifices to protect Canadians, and they undeniably have the right to serve in safety. We have not been able to keep these people safe. We need to do more. And that is why we have announced that Justice Louise Arbour will be carrying out an arm's length and in-depth investigation about cases of harassment in the military. And we have also appointed General Carignan. The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Le-Fjord. Mr. Speaker, it's very clear that our Prime Minister doesn't care about the brave women who serve in our armed forces. He did not defend them. On the contrary, his government let them suffer and didn't do anything. They sacrifice so much for us, and yet he is not ready to sacrifice his image to protect them. When will he apologize to them? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of National Defence. Mr. Speaker, it is important that we eliminate all forms of sexual misconduct and abuse of power for all members of the defence team. It is a critical priority, and we know that the Canadian Armed Forces must work very hard to eliminate toxic masculinity, which is creating an unacceptable culture in the military. We have announced that Ms. Arbour will be carrying out an independent and in-depth investigation of sexual harassment and misconduct. We owe that to the members of the forces and Canadians. The Honourable Member. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is supposed to be responsible for his cabinet. It's up to him to supervise what's happening in government, and it's up to the ministers and the PMO to keep him up to date on major events. So it's hard for me to understand how something as horrifying as sexual assault allegations could be ignored on his watch. Are we really supposed to believe that the Prime Minister didn't know anything about all this, even though everyone around him knew about it? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, as the Minister said at committee, no, he didn't. He was not aware of the nature or the details of the allegations. Mr. Walburn did mention that there were misconduct allegations regarding General Vance, but he did not give any details to the Minister. The Minister has stated that all allegations brought to his attention should be brought to the relevant authorities for investigation. The Honourable Member for Rivière-des-Mille-Îles. Mr. Speaker, we need a clear message from the federal government to victims of CERB fraud. In the House, the Minister said that victims will not be held responsible for this fraud, and we all agree with that. But when the victims call her department, they are told to pay taxes on the fraudulent sums, and they're told that they'll be repaid sometime. So my question will be clear, and we also need a clear answer. Madam Minister, should the victims keep their money? Yes or no? It's that simple. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Speaker, the Canada Revenue Agency takes the protection of taxpayer information very seriously. The CRA has robust safeguards in place to identify fraudulent emergency and recovery claims. Canadians who receive a T4A for CERB payments, which they did not claim should contact the CRA as soon as possible. Victims of fraud will not be held responsible for any money paid out to scammers using their identity. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Rivière-des-Mille. Mr. Speaker, it's so clear. It's so hard, rather, to get a clear answer to these questions. And in addition, the Minister must act to ensure that victims of server fraud don't lose government benefits, because these fraudulent sums are added to the income that the victims have truly earned. And government benefits are calculated based on people's income. For example, the Canada Child Benefit, the Workers' Benefit, and the GST credit. So, what is the Minister doing to guarantee that victims won't lose this much-needed government assistance? The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let me be crystal clear to my colleague. Canadians who received a T4A without having claimed benefits do not have to include it on their tax return. Those who received an incorrect T4A simply need to report the actual amounts received on their tax return. In either case, these individuals should contact the agency as soon as possible to request either a cancellation or amendment of the statement. I would encourage my colleague to seek information from reliable sources rather than unnecessarily scare Canadians. His constituents deserve better.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Centre.
Mr. Speaker, my riding has been severely impacted by COVID-19. Many have lost their jobs, their homes, and their livelihoods. More people are homeless, opioid abuse is skyrocketing, and more families are struggling to make ends meet. The last thing my constituents in this riding need is another blow to the oil and gas sector, which provides jobs, opportunity, and helps fund our vital social programs. What is this government's strategy to ensure thousands of more Canadians do not suffer the consequences of another cancelled pipeline?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, last night in this House, we held an emergency debate. It was a debate in which all parties participated. It was a debate in which we made our intentions and and the purpose of the mission of this government on pipelines very, very clear. TMX, when we look back at something that we approved, we're building it. It's more than 7,000 jobs that have been created. In Line 3, we approved it, another 7,000 jobs created. These are pipelines that will take us into the future. But when we look at existing pipelines that are essential to our energy security nationally, we will leave no stone unturned in making sure we are there for Canadian workers, that we are there.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Centre.
Security.
Mr. Speaker, that just doesn't cut it. No stone unturned. This Prime Minister had 6 years to demonstrate his support for the natural resource sector. And what do we have now? The cancellation of Keystone XL and the potential shutdown of Line 5. Mr. Speaker, we are once again facing a last-minute crisis due to this government's lack of action. When will the Prime Minister pick up the phone, show some leadership, and receive assurances from the President that this vital pipeline will continue to operate and enforce the Transit Pipeline Treaty?
The Honourable Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, last night in this House, during the emergency debate, there was no daylight between the parties. Line 5 is a critical piece of energy infrastructure. It is vital to North American energy security. And I'll repeat what I said to the House last night. People will not be left out in the cold. The heating of Canadian homes, the flying of Canadian jets, the operation of Canadian refineries are non-negotiable. Line 5 is not just vital to Canada, it is also vital to the United States, and therefore it is vital to all of North America, and that is the case we are making. Line 5 is essential to North American energy security. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Sarnia-Lambton.
Mr. Speaker, the deadline to submit a brief of support to keep Enbridge's Line 5 open is in just 4 days. The Canada-US Committee unanimously recommended this action, and the Natural Resources Minister said last night that he would take every action diplomatically and legally to keep Line 5 open. This is the most urgent action required, and the Liberals have known about it for months. Why did they leave it to the last minute, and when will they submit the amicus brief?
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the honourable member for her question and for her advocacy for her constituents, and I can assure this House we are looking at all our options. We will leave no stone unturned in defending Canada's energy security. We're working at the political level We're working at the diplomatic level. We're working at the legal level, and we are ready to intervene at precisely the right moment. We are standing up for energy workers, for energy consumers, for Canada's energy security. People will not be left out in the cold. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Regina Wascana.
Mr. Speaker, usually it's a good thing when Canadians from west to east come together for a common cause. Hear, hear. But it's not so good when that common cause is a common threat. The Governor of Michigan is threatening to shut down the Enbridge Line 5 pipeline in a clear violation of treaty obligations between the United States and Canada. This would put 25,000 Canadian jobs at risk. When is the Prime Minister going to phone President Biden and insist that the Transit Pipeline Treaty be enforced?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as we've said, Line 5 is the most efficient way to deliver the products that Michigan needs to heat its homes, to fly its jets, to power its economy. We don't need more trucks on the road jamming up the 401 or jamming up our already congested border crossings. And those idling trucks would be releasing their emissions in Governor Whitmer's backyard in Michigan while they wait to cross the border. Line 5 is safe. It has been for 65 years. It will continue to be so. It is safer and better for the environment than the alternatives. And that is the case we are making in defending Canada's energy security. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Churchill-Coatineau-Askey.
Mr. Speaker, the Auditor General outlined how this government failed First Nations on clean drinking water, an outdated funding formula, a non-existent regulatory regime. ISC now says 2024 is their target to end water advisories, but the AG made clear this will only happen if ISC makes changes. Following their damning testimonial, we finally saw action from this government, not to fix the problem, but to defend their inaction. The minister won't give a timeline, so my question is, when will this government end clean drinking water advisories on First Nations?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And as the member well notes, this government has made significant progress. In 2015, there were 105 long-term water advisories in effect. We've in fact lifted 106, and we will continue to do so. We will fix a failed funding formula that we've invested now $1.5 billion pursuant to the fall economic statement. We will continue to work with every community to ensure that long-term water advisories are lifted. One long-term water advisory is one too many.
Honourable Member for Elmwood-Transcona.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think Indigenous people in Canada deserve a better, clearer plan and a much greater sense of urgency from this government when it comes to life-saving water, just as people the world over deserve a better answer and a higher sense of urgency when it comes to putting their need to get life-saving vaccine ahead of the profits of international pharmaceutical companies. Yet this government continues to refuse to get behind a waiver at the WTO. The United States of America announced just this week that it is getting behind that waiver. When will Canada be part of the solution and not the problem at the WTO?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our government has always been and will continue to be a strong advocate for equitable access to affordable and safe COVID-19 vaccines around the world. Canada has actively participated in the negotiations on waiving intellectual property protections to COVID-19 vaccines under the WTO, and we will continue to work with our international partners towards a speedy and just recovery. This pandemic isn't over anywhere until it's over everywhere. Thank you.
Member for Sydney Victoria.
Mr. Speaker, reconciliation is a journey of many steps. Closing the infrastructure gap, supporting Indigenous economies through this pandemic, and connecting Indigenous economies with the world. Throughout the pandemic, Indigenous communities in Atlantic Canada have received $38 million in flexible funding through the Indigenous Community Support Fund and more than $9 million through the Community Business Fund, supporting Indigenous communities to build back better. Could the minister update the House on the future of these programs?
The Honourable Minister.
Through Budget 2021, our government is investing over $18 billion to improve the quality of life, close socioeconomic gaps, and create new opportunities for Indigenous communities and peoples. And this includes an additional $1.4 billion to fight COVID, over $6 billion with $389 million ongoing to support Indigenous infrastructure, $100 million for Indigenous entrepreneurship and economic development opportunities, and near and dear to the member's heart, there's an additional $275 million for Indigenous languages, including Mi'kmaq. Walalan.
The Honourable Member for Mission Matsqui, Fraser Canyon.
Mr. Speaker, this government promised $5,000 grants to homeowners who make energy-efficient retrofits as of December 1st, 2020, but they haven't even established eligibility requirements. Homeowners and contractors are being told to hold on to their receipts to see if they'll be paid back as promised for the investments they made at the direction of this government. The Liberals have rolled out yet another half-baked program, and homeowners are left holding the bag. When will it actually be ready?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, go ahead.
The Honourable Minister, go ahead. Oh, okay, that's this Honourable Minister. Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Thank you very much. We're so enthusiastic about home retrofits. Mr. Speaker, let me thank the member for his question, and I think that all members of this House will agree that supporting Canadians in making their homes more energy efficient is a great way for us to work together to fight climate change and also to create great jobs in Canada in putting these retrofits in place. The program that the member mentions is very important, and in the budget we also committed to moving ahead with an additional program to provide credit for Canadians who want to have deep retrofits of their homes.
The Honourable Member for Wellington, Halton Hills.
Mr. Speaker, recently the Czech Republic concluded Russian intelligence agents attacked an ammunition depot on Czech soil in 2014, causing deaths. In response, the Czech Republic expelled 18 Russian diplomats, and 4 EU countries expelled Russian diplomats in solidarity with the Czech Republic for this violation of international law. 3 years ago, Canada expelled Russian diplomats in solidarity with the United Kingdom for violating international law in the Salisbury poisonings. Will the government do likewise in solidarity with the Czech Republic?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our position on Russia remains unequivocal. Canada will continue to hold Russia accountable for all its actions. We have strong sanctions against Russian officials under Magnitsky Act and the Special Economic Measures Act. Our government takes foreign interference seriously, working to safeguard our national interests at home and abroad. We'll continue to work with our allies to put pressure on Russia to counter its foreign interference. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Bruce Grey, Owen Sound.
Mr. Speaker, after an announced CEBA expansion on December 4th, many Canadians applied for expanded business loans. Many were denied as records held by CRA did not match their applications. However, there is no method for Canadians to update their submissions. In January, the government promised to fix this. Yet here we are 5 months later in the midst of further lockdowns during this Liberal third wave without a solution, leaving businesses to wait for the government to take action. Will the minister commit today to a date when this issue will be resolved? Small businesses can't wait.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Our government's priority since the very beginning of the pandemic has been to support our Canadian businesses and our workers. We know that small businesses continue to have difficulty making ends meet because of the restrictions in place due to the pandemic. To date, over 860,000 businesses have been supported by CEBA, and I understand the member's concern. Financial institutions will be reaching out directly to businesses who have applied but not yet received the expansion that they've requested, and we will be providing clarifying information through our banks. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Richmond, Athabasca.
Mr. Speaker, Bill C-10 has become a real mess for one simple reason. The Liberals are attacking freedom of expression. They removed the only section of the bill that would protect social media users. They've been playing politics for the past 2 weeks, suggesting that we are anti-culture. And now they're trying to correct their mistake by proposing bad amendments. When will the Minister of Justice have the courage to call to order the Minister of Heritage, who is directly attacking the freedom of expression of Canadians? The Honourable Minister.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, it's concerning to see my honourable colleague deliberately mislead this House and Canadians, because he knows very well that Section 2.3 of Bill C-10 says that the interpretation and enforcement of the bill must be compatible with freedom of expression and journalistic, creative, and programming independence that broadcasting organizations enjoy. So why is the member across the way deliberately misleading Canadians and this House?
I
just want to remind the Honourable Minister that
in French, but one makes a misleading deliberately. That has been constituted as unparliamentary language, and je demande.
So I would ask the Honourable Minister to withdraw that comment. The Honourable Minister.
Monsieur le Président,
Mr. Speaker, if I'm not mistaken, so when should I ask a question?
In English, just so that I make myself more clear, and I appreciate the patience of honourable members. The minister rather, in his statement indicated that a member was deliberately misleading in his statements. That has been essentially equal to lying, and so our precedents in the House are clear on that. So I'd ask the honourable minister to withdraw his statement, and we'll carry on. The Honourable Minister of Heritage.
I would correct my statement then, Mr. Speaker, by asking the question as to whether or not the member opposite is trying to induce this House and Canadians into error. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
No, I'll ask the Honourable Minister again. He really must withdraw or rephrase his comment with respect to any reference to a member of this House deliberately misleading. This is the infraction, and I'd ask him to withdraw that specific aspect of his remarks before we can carry on. The Honourable Minister of Heritage.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Then I will withdraw that comment. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. And now the Honourable Member for Beauport-Limoilou. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Bloc Québécois hopes that the Davie Shipyard will build the polar icebreaker that the federal government announced yesterday, because we've been calling for this for years. It's just that before we celebrate, we want some details. For now, all we have is a press release from the government. No contract, no formal letter of intent, no start date. The government is asking us to celebrate to celebrate what so far looks just like an election promise. When will we see a real contract signed with the Davie Shipyard? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, I'm not asking the Bloc Québécois to celebrate, but at the very least, they can recognize that this is good news for Quebec. It's good news for the Davie Shipyard. It's good news for all of the suppliers who supply the Davie Shipyard. It's good news for all residents of the Quebec City area. When things are going well, the Bloc isn't happy. Again, the Conservatives didn't help the Davie Shipyard, nor did the Bloc, but we delivered. The Honourable Member for Beauport-Limoilou. Well, Mr. Speaker, yesterday I said that we were happy. I just said that we're happy. But as long as the Davie Shipyard doesn't have a signed contract for the icebreaker, this is all just good intentions. And this wouldn't be the first time that the federal government had good intentions on the eve of an election. For example, just before the 2019 election, the Prime Minister and the Minister responsible for the Quebec City region announced that they wanted the Davie Shipyard to become a partner in the shipbuilding strategy. They announced real opportunities for Davie. Well, 2 years later, that shipyard is still not a partner. So good intentions are not enough. When will we see something concrete, a signed contract? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, we've always been there for the Davie Shipyard. We always believed in the Davie Shipyard. We gave them over $2 billion worth of contracts. We are moving forward to have them be the third partner. Things are going well. So I just don't understand the Bloc Québécois. Why can't they recognize good news when they see it? Or maybe it's because it's good news that they refuse to see it. Once again, the Conservatives did nothing for the shipyard. The Bloc Québécois did nothing for them, but we are delivering.
Member for Parry Sound, Muskoka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Liberals' Bill C-10 has outraged millions of Canadians. The minister responded by calling those Canadians extremists, and now we see him stooping to calling Conservatives liars. Last night, the Liberals confessed to their mistake with the new amendment to fix a flawed piece of legislation, but already experts have said that the amendment doesn't work. Why is this minister refusing to ask the Justice Minister if this bill is even constitutional?
Right. Go back to the honourable member for Parry Sound, Muskoka. In the same vein, that use of language in the House is considered unparliamentary. I'm going to go back to him and ask him to rephrase his question, and then we'll carry on from there. The honourable member for Parry Sound, Muskoka.
My apologies, Mr. Speaker. The Liberals' Bill C-10 has outraged millions of Canadians. The minister responded by calling those Canadians who are outraged extremists. Last night, the Liberals confessed to their mistake with an amendment to fix this flawed piece of legislation, and yet experts are already saying the amendment doesn't work. Why is the Justice Minister betraying Canadians and refusing to simply ask the Justice Minister if his bill that he has changed is even constitutional?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to read you a note that I received on social media from Mark, an art enthusiast from Newfoundland, and he says, regarding the battle with the web giants, just want to thank you for carrying on one of the most pressing concerns of our times. It cannot be overstated that the need for action and history will treat kindly to those who step forward to support this. This is how the artistic community feels about Bill C-10 throughout Canada, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
The honourable member for South Surrey, White Rock.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals' November version of Bill C-10 contained an exemption for user-generated content. That exemption has been removed, opening the door for the CRTC to regulate content uploaded to social media by any Canadian. Last week, the Minister of Canadian Heritage said the exemption was, quote, not necessary, end quote. But experts warn the amended bill now violates the Charter. Constituents in my riding are demanding to know why this Liberal government wants to take away their freedom of expression. Can the Minister explain why he removed the safeguard clause?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would invite the honourable member opposite to actually read Bill C-10, where in section 2.3 it goes, and I quote, "This act shall be construed and applied in a manner that is consistent with freedom of expression and journalistic, creative, and programming independence enjoyed by broadcasting undertaking." I expect the committee will be able to move forward on C-10 without any further interference by the Conservative Party of Canada, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Port Moody, Coquitlam.
Mr. Speaker, Bill C-10 should be about helping Canadian artists and broadcasters succeed among web giants and foreign competitors. Liberals keep accusing Conservatives who don't care about Canadian content, but they keep jeopardizing the prosperity of artists to leverage their own political agenda to censor individual Canadians. As an artist myself, I'm appalled. If the Liberals truly cared so much about artists, they would just fix the bill and Canadians wouldn't be so afraid of C-10. When will the minister stop flip-flopping and make it crystal clear to Canadians that democracy still has a place in Canada's government?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I would like to take this opportunity to actually read the list of supporters, organizations throughout the country that have come out in support of C-10. Coalition for the Diversity of Cultural Expressions, the Professional Music Publishers Association, the Canadian Media Producers Association, the Directors Guild of Canada, and the Writers Guilds of Canada, la Fédération Nationale des Communications de la Culture, SOCAN, la Fédération Culturelle Canadienne-Française, the Canadian Federation of Musicians, APTN, l'Union des Artistes, l'Association des Professionnels des Arts de la Scène du Québec, l'Association québécoise des auteurs dramatiques.
Alors, l'honorable député de...
The Honourable Member for Saint-Léonard, Saint-Michel. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This week, Canadians, including in my riding of Saint-Léonard, Saint-Michel, were delighted to receive notices in the mail inviting them to participate in the 2021 census. The census is all about Canadians. It gives them the power to shape services, policies, and infrastructure that directly affect their lives every day. Can the Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry please inform the House of the way in which this census helps shape and improve public policy? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank my colleague for that excellent question. Mr. Speaker, unlike the Harper Conservatives, our government understands that decisions must be based on world-class data, on key socioeconomic trends, and on important decisions affecting our families, our neighborhoods, and our businesses. The census is a unique opportunity to shape our communities and economy to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, and I encourage all Canadians to complete it as soon as possible. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, member for Yorkton Melville.
Speaker, the Minister of Heritage claims C10 is only about regulating web giants and protecting the interests of Canadian artists and musicians. Well, if that's not fake news, then the response Canadians are demanding from him is simple. Apologize and restore the full clause protecting their right to freedom of expression in the public square of social media. Constituents in my riding see him, his Prime Minister, and the Liberal government as extremists on this issue. Is he ready to prove them otherwise?
The Honourable Minister.
I thank the member opposite for the question, Mr. Speaker, as it will give me an opportunity to continue listing the number of organizations that have come out in support of Bill C-10 in the past few weeks. So I'll continue. L'Association des professionnels des arts de la scène du Québec, l'Association québécoise des auteurs dramatiques, l'Association des réalisateurs et réalisatrices.
The Association of Directors of Quebec, the Musicians Guild of Quebec, the Union of Writers of Quebec, the Radio, Television and Cinema Workers Association, the Artistic Workers Organizations, La Disque.
I will need to leave it there. The Honourable Member for Kamloops, Thompson, Caribou.
Mr. Speaker, a year in and many people are struggling with COVID. They rely on expert advice. Let me quote just one person's frustration regarding vaccine messaging. Quote, I am so tired. I was excited to get my first vaccine and suddenly I'm told it's not the preferred dose. Now I'm questioning why I was told to take the first dose available. In the meantime, my 92-year-old father can't get a second dose as advised by science. When will the minister take responsibility for these failures in communication and delivery?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians can rest assured that when it comes to the approval and authorization for vaccine use in this country, that is left up to the world-renowned regulators at Health Canada. All vaccines that are authorized go through a rigorous testing process for safety and effectiveness, and that review continues even as vaccines are distributed. Mr. Speaker, vaccines are an important tool of getting through this virus, and we encourage all Canadians to get a vaccine as soon as it's their turn.
Member for Richmond Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the middle of the largest global crisis, health crisis seen in a century, over a century, seniors need more than a token benefits increase. What seniors really need are vaccinations so that they can enjoy the rest of their years secure from COVID-19. As countries like Israel, the United States, United Kingdom, Singapore, and on and on and on are beating Canada to vaccinate their people. When will the Minister of Health account for her failure to bring wide distribution of vaccines?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker.
Go ahead, the Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the supply of vaccines into this country is such that Canada ranks in the top 3 or 4 countries in the world for vaccine administration. We've had delivered to Canada
18.4 million doses, Mr. Speaker. Provinces and territories have administered 15 million doses, and 36% of Canadians have had one dose. Those numbers are increasing rapidly, Mr. Speaker, because of the continuous supply of vaccines into this country, serving all demographic groups, including our seniors. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Surrey Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It has never been more important to support Canadians in achieving home ownership. We know that many young families are ready to buy their first home, but face financial challenges to doing so in cities like Greater Vancouver. Can the minister please update this House on the First-Time Homebuyers Initiative and explain how it's helping put home ownership in reach of young Canadians?
The Honourable Minister.
Well, I'd like to, first of all, thank my colleague for raising this critically important question. We know it's important to help Canadians who are looking to buy their first home. That's why yesterday we announced the expansion of the First-Time Homebuyers Incentive by improving eligibility in Toronto, Vancouver, and Victoria and those regions by raising the income threshold for eligible homebuyers. With this incentive, we're supporting more young Canadian and Canadian families buy their first home, but we will also continue to build on our historic investment in the National Housing Strategy and ensure that Canadians have choice and that Canadians have access to a market that is both safe, affordable, and secure, but most importantly, they have the choice to have a place to call home.
Member for Courtenay Alberni.
Mr. Speaker, the Indigenous Tourism Association of Canada has played a pivotal role in helping Indigenous businesses survive the pandemic. Yet Budget 2021 fails to recognize their important contributions. The government is spending more money to promote the Formula One Grand Prix in Montreal than they are to struggling Indigenous businesses across the country. Without sector-specific support, Indigenous-led tourism will disappear. This is another blow to preserving Indigenous languages and cultures. Why aren't Indigenous businesses a real priority for the Liberals, and when will specific investments for pandemic recovery be made for Indigenous tourism operators?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this budget makes unprecedented investments in reconciliation and in supporting Indigenous people across Canada. $18 billion over 5 years. That includes significant investments in supporting Indigenous businesses and Indigenous entrepreneurship. Moreover, Mr. Speaker, this budget includes more than $1 billion to support tourism across Canada. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Brampton Centre.
Mr. Speaker, during this pandemic, many Canadians have been affected mentally and emotionally, and they deserve adequate support and treatment. Whereas this government has failed such victims suffering from mental health. Question is, why this neglect by the government at this crucial juncture of COVID-19 crisis?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, when it comes to the mental health of Canadians, this is something that we know has been a struggle for many Canadians even prior to COVID, and COVID has just made that situation worse. I couldn't disagree more with the member opposite in his assertion that we have done nothing. In fact, Mr. Speaker, we continue to invest in mental health supports, including wellnesstogether.ca, that's had over 1 million Canadians accessing that support. It's crucially important that we encourage Canadians to use wellnesstogether.ca, to access the support they need, and to support them so that no Canadians suffer in silence. And I would encourage that member to help us, to help his constituents and Canadians across this country to the resources that are available.
We'll get to that.
This concludes question period for today. The Speaker has a notice of a point of order from the Honourable Member from Lac-Saint-Jean. The Honourable Member. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there have been consultations among the party, and I think there's unanimous consent for the following motion, that this House welcome and support the decision of the President of the United States to support the resolution presented to the World Trade Organization to temporarily suspend the patents of vaccines against COVID-19 for developing countries, that this House ask the government to also support this initiative. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. All those opposed to what the honourable member is proposing in his motion will say nay.
No.
There is no unanimous consent.
Rising on a point of order, the honourable member for Kingston and the Islands.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I know that I'm just seeking further clarification on a comment that you made after member statements today. And I have great respect for you, and I think you're an exceptional speaker, as I've said in this House before. But I'm just looking for clarification as to why the member from Calgary-Mindipur was allowed to use the phrase, to say the word you, as if speaking to somebody directly 14 times within a 60-second period without having been interrupted. Is the practice that we allow the statement to complete and then provide correction later? I'm just hoping to seek some clarification from you on that.
Appreciate the honourable member for Kingston and the Island raising the point. As is customary, we do try to, as we saw earlier today, to try to avoid interruptions in the course of statements by members and through the course of question period. It was clear to me when the member was speaking that the style of speaking was not appropriate, and so the decision came that, speaking was inappropriate and not within the usual standards of the House. So the question was, do I interrupt at that point or at the end? I elected to do the latter instead of the former. Quite honestly, it could have invited an immediate interruption as well. And that is why I remind honourable members, speaking style is, perhaps not the same thing as being unparliamentary language per se, but nonetheless, it's against the normal standard of speech in the House. And this is why earlier today we had another occasion making comments personal towards any other member of this House often elevates the kind of adversarial climate in the House, which does not support good civil debate. And so I appreciate the honourable member raising the point. And I think it's a good occasion to remind other honourable members of this indeed. We'll now go to tabling of No? Oh, we have another point of order. The Honourable Minister of Heritage.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In his question, the member for Parry Sound Muskoka claimed that I had said that those who opposed Bill C-10 were extremists. I said no such thing. I did point out that the Conservative Party of Canada was leaning toward the more extremist elements of its party when it comes to Bill C-10, but I did not say that those who oppose Bill C-10 are extremists, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
I thank the honourable minister for his comments. I don't think it falls into the category of a point of order, but more rather in the area of debate, and perhaps there will be other occasions to comment upon those subjects. We'll now go to tabling of documents. Dépôt de documents. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Government House Leader.
Order 36 bracket 8A, I have the honor to table in both official languages the government's responses to 24 petitions, and these returns will be tabled in an electronic format.
Tabling of documents. Dépôt de documents. Introduction of government bills. Dépôt de projet de loi émanant du gouvernement. Statements by ministers. Déclaration du ministre. Reports from interparliamentary delegations. Presenting reports from committees. The Honourable Member for Cambridge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have the honor to present in both official languages the 6th report of the Standing Committee on Veterans Affairs.